The following is a fan-based discussion. All properties discussed are property of Toei Inc., Bandai, Hasbro, and Subaru Productions.
Hello everybody and welcome to another Tokutalk.
Yes!
Hello.
We've been meaning to do this one for a while, or at least we should have.
Yeah, I'm about to say meaning to and should have, are two completely separate things here.
Little column A, little column B.
Finiles.
We talked about, like, endings, sort of.
But we meant, that was more arcs. Ending arcs.
That's more ending arcs.
This is finale.
We've done a top 10 on finales. We never really talked about just the finale in and of itself. What makes a good one?
I don't even remember the top 10 we did on finales.
It was
a long time ago.
3 years ago, I think.
Back when we still did top 10s.
That also is...
I haven't done one of those in a very long time.
Tier list exists.
They're more fun because we get to include everybody. So yeah, what do we like in a finale?
Wrap it up with a nice little bow.
Put a button on it.
There you go.
Definitely don't leave it too open-ended, but definitely make it feel like it is a conclusion.
Yeah, it is a story-to-story basis, but generally with Toku, I like things to be done.
Like, I'll say this, I liked the Q-Ranger finale.
The Q-Ranger finale was a good one, especially because it really wrapped everything up, mostly with Sarugi's arc with the Cuervo and then being the Don Margay and all that.
Mm-hmm.
I actually like when it wraps up storylines. They have to wrap up I would say they sort of have to wrap up everything, but occasionally you end up getting that story where...
Ideally you should, but usually with Toku we'll have a movie or a special set a couple years later.
I think it depends on what kind of storyline you're talking about.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, they didn't wrap up Ankh in the end of O's. Ankh was still broken and that was Edgy's new goal, was to go find a way to fix him. So
still hasn't been done.
Nope, but it
will at some point.
But it is also, but that
According
is also
to that movie. It will at some point.
It's an excuse to bring him back.
Yeah. But then you end up having something like how 01 ended, where outside forces really screwed that over. So,
but I still liked it.
Oh yeah, it was still a good one. But I'm happy that they were just like, all right, here's the actual big bag for the next thing.
It got me. Oh yeah, it did kind of have to give us a cliffhanger.
Yeah.
But in terms of the main character's story, I did like the button, especially the last scene. And I'm trying not to go into too much detail because he hasn't seen it yet.
So we're having some bad ones.
Well, of course we do.
Dairanger. No matter how much we love that show.
Oh yeah, that finale was...
Dairanger is just such an anomaly.
Yeah.
I don't know what they were thinking.
50 years later.
It's not just the 50 years later, but we finally, we beat our big bad, supposedly, but it turns out
they're all clay.
Turns out they were all clay dolls that were created by some other entity that has been hitherto unforeseen. And, and we're just left with okay, but then we flash forward 50 years and their grandkids, I believe, are now the Dairangers, and they're still fighting people, so I guess we never found out who was making the clay dolls.
Yeah, I think that's one of the worst ones. Even though everything up to that point has been good,
that
was confusing and why.
Decades finale.
It just feels like a twist for the sake of having a twist. Decades finale, because they led it directly into a movie, and that's where the story really ended for the show.
Yeah, but this movie also still didn't answer every question. I'm sorry, if you still don't know your main antagonist's motive for why he hates the main character so much, that's a problem.
Oh, it is.
They don't even
Honore Decado. Honore, what's his name? Why?
No, you want to know what makes that worse? In the original broadcast of that episode, they broadcast a preview of the next episode that never happened. Because they ended up replacing it with the Decade W movie.
Mm-hmm.
It's out there on YouTube. It's on none of the
episode or just the preview?
None of the fan subs. It's
the preview.
Just the preview.
Yeah, it was on none of the DVDs or Blu-rays.
So did they shoot a 30-second episode or a 31st episode, however many it was?
30-second, yeah. Apparently they did.
And just scrapped it all for a movie.
Scrapped it for the movie. And it was apparently going to end up actually answering questions.
That's fucking stupid. Anyway,
I can't help but wonder why.
Can we talk about a good finale?
Yeah, of course.
Geki Ranger.
Go on.
I wasn't waiting for his response.
Oh, I was like, yeah.
Geki Ranger is really good because not only is it it's a good finale in terms of how everything is wrapped up, but it's a great message of taking what your enemy, like combining the powers of your enemies, learning from them, because it's ended with using the styles of all of the enemies that they've conquered before up to that point. Really just shows the growth of the Rangers over the last 50 episodes.
Yeah.
And that they are true masters of their craft, which I just love. And the fact that they still left it open-ended by sealing the bad guy, not destroying him. To leave it open for the possibility of him getting out.
Okay. Which happened in the Geki Ranger Go On movie.
Exactly. Full circle. Full orb.
Full.
It's an orb.
G.
Yep.
G's finale was great.
Pretty much, I mean, everything about that show was great. But
that beginning where they're just like...
I didn't mind it. I liked it.
It was the weakest part of the show. But yeah, G's finale, we're just like, we're actually going to give Belial a sending off.
Excuse me.
But we're actually... It felt like a way to retire him as a villain.
Yeah.
And they could still bring him back in some respect, which they did in later seasons, whether as a weapon or as a form.
Or it's not really him. It's more just a clone.
A clone, but it's still him.
Yeah.
It's like the evil part of him is gone, but it's still him.
Yeah. Really enjoyed that.
But yeah, like that final confrontation between father and son, where they're like in kind of like a shadow dimension, and it's him in his human form confronting his father in his monstrous form.
Yeah.
And like hugging him, and then the malice escapes, and we see Belial in his true form.
Yeah.
Before the evil took over him, and that was really good.
Yeah, that was great.
Garo VR.
Yeah.
Garo VR at the end of that, where especially the final battle, because one of the things I loved about that show,
among everything,
no one transforms until the final episode.
Yeah.
That's when we finally see both Garo and the Dark Knight actually transform. And they have their throwdown, and the way Kwon is able to take all the fighting styles from the people that he has been fighting with all this time, and use them as a way to not only honor the people who have fallen in the battle royale, but use that as a way to trip up the Dark Knight and get a leg up on him and beat him. And that final shot of him walking away from the sword that's embedded there in the snow, and that I think is a really good example of a great way to leave something open, because he won the battle royale. Like, for now, his story's over. But if they want to bring it back, if Azumi is still out there sowing her discord as she has been wanting to do, she is, but we don't know to what extent. Who knows?
I think if you're going to do a finale,
but if they decide to continue and revisit this world again, they have a great place to pick up from.
I think if you're going to do a finale that is setting itself up for a sequel series,
which very rarely happens,
with a lot of the things that we watch, because they usually end up being a lot more
because particularly with Kamen Rider and Sentai, which are the bulk of what we watch. Usually, if you end with something that's a little more open in Kamen Rider or Sentai, it's because we're building up to either a movie, a special, or
potential team-ups
down the road.
I bring this up specifically because you brought up VR. I'm seeing it like Jenga. His story, the way that ends, where there's a problem. This is a very big problem. What are our protagonists from season 5 going to do?
Because the way that show had been subverting everything up to now.
Yeah.
The way he's been dealing with the horrors, and the fact that it's like, it's like, not only is he good now, but he's been able to save the people entirely. And then the finale happens, and it's like, oh.
Everybody's dead.
And then it's like, oh, okay. That's not what was going on. And then
it got real depressing real fast.
It gets real good real fast.
Oh, yeah. It's like, that's the same
thing. That finale was the only good part of the show.
The pressure goes up, the goodness goes up.
Any finales on the West that we would like to talk about? Power Rangers or anything like that? Because I can think of a couple.
Go ahead.
Turbo. That show was awful. That finale was something.
Yeah.
It was
I don't entirely remember going to
Demon Talks wins. She storms the base.
Right.
And that's how we lead into in space, because they have to get onto the spaceship and run. They literally run away, which is, I mean, you want to set the frickin' stakes. But yeah, it's a terrible show. Great finale.
Yeah.
Wild Force had a good finale in my opinion, and not just because of shirtless Cole.
It was a finale with a lot of passion and energy.
Yeah.
And I definitely appreciated that. I think it matches well with the tone of the rest of the show. It doesn't. It particularly stands out in my mind because of the roll call and the rain at the end. That's the peak.
Yeah.
And everything else is just kind of like, well, it's all right.
It's all right, but but that peak it was enough to get you hyped, and really to get you hyped enough to realize that this is it. This is the last guy.
They have their celebration, and they're like, "Yay, the Power Rangers are done!" Oh no!
Oh shit! But that was a dope roll call.
It was a good one.
Wild Force is actually one of my favorite roll calls in Power Rangers. Period.
Cool.
Like even not that moment, just
in general. In space.
How do you forget that?
It's kind of hard. I mean, you mentioned Turbo. It's kind of hard not to bring up the one that comes next, where that truly felt like the end of an era.
Because it was.
Because it was, but also
it was supposed to be the end of the show.
The way it was written, the way it's produced, it really feels like this is the end of an arc that has taken several seasons to get to.
Yeah.
And everything about it feels earned.
Oh yeah. Especially like the I Am Spartacus moment.
Yeah.
Which
that's a great scene.
It's a fantastic scene because it not only gives the Rangers the recognition they deserve, it does give Bulk and Skull the character growth that we've been watching for years.
It's a lot of seasons.
And apparently Skull becomes rich.
Good for him.
After getting left. Because he slept in before the ship.
Oh yeah, he was supposed to be in Lost Galaxy, but he slept in, they left him behind. But anyway.
Well. Happy accidents.
We brought that up. I want to bring up Megarangers.
Okay.
Ooh, that's the graduation scene. So
the graduation scene.
Mm-hmm. So good.
So good.
Well, let's be real. It hit a little closer to home with us because it was literally the year we graduated.
It was the week we graduated.
Yeah. So.
But yeah, it's like everything that ends up leading up to that point with them, more or less into getting kicked out of the school because everybody there thinks they're bringing like the danger in to that scene where like they go up and basically self-destructing with Dr. Handelar at the end of the scene. And then you go into the actual graduation where like on the desk that they sat at, they have like flowers for them. So they burst into the classroom and see like this is going to be the only time I ever cry at like any Toku show. That was so good. That was amazing. They really, I think a finale, if you're going to have a much more emotional one, there has to be a bar that you had to set and make sure that your writing is good enough to actually bring across that emotion without, and you complained about this before, like feel this way.
Yeah. Manipulation is never good.
That was the Megaranger one. I bring it up a lot because it's directed incredibly well. Mm-hmm. And I love it. I just love that show. The show is very good. But yeah, that it's also just a very strong finale. You want to bring up any more bad ones?
I have a device I would say I would like to bring up that we see a lot in finales. And that's, we see this in Kamen Rider more than anything, and it's fighting the final boss in your first form. How do we feel about that? Because I think done well, it can work.
It worked in Zero One.
I think it worked in X-Aid.
That's technicality.
I think it worked in Forze.
Because it technically wasn't his base form?
Yeah. Forze especially.
Yeah.
Well,
Forze is another. I think it worked, and I think
it's just I'm thinking about everything else that was surrounded that came coming back.
But I'm talking about this scene in particular. Yes, that one moment does kind of spoil a lot of it, but everything else before that I think is pretty solid.
Yeah.
And the way that they have the graduation ceremony for their final villain, and the way they're trying to honor him while at the same time best him in combat.
What is it about graduation ceremonies? Because this is the second one after Megaranger that they just did incredibly well.
It's just, I don't know.
Although, to be fair, we haven't seen Turbo.
It's an emotional time. It's something that you look. It's something that you can watch and immediately. I think immediately as a person
grasp onto.
You can grasp onto it and like the significance of what it means.
Yeah.
Regardless of how old you are.
Excuse me.
Yeah, I definitely would agree.
Mm-hmm. And I think actually did it well. I know it is technically the second form, but the fact that like the way the whole scene is lit.
Mm. We actually get the shot from the beginning of like every credit sequence with the backlighting.
With the backlighting and them on their motorcycles and
fight. This is just X8 on the motorcycle.
Well, yeah, but
standing there.
Because he hasn't transformed yet. And then you have something like Wizard, where
it just didn't make sense.
It doesn't. Does it ever?
It's
Ghost didn't.
It isn't just that it doesn't make sense. It's just that it's really poorly written.
The show,
the way we get like a magic ring that is just pulled from the ass dimension, and then that's how we're able to beat him with a rider kick that somehow is more powerful because we've decided it is.
We're sitting here like, dude, we saw you kick somebody into the sun. The hell.
You set the bar real high.
And that bar was the sun.
Zero One did something similar, but they kind of wrote around it. Even though it was technically a different form, it just looked like his base form.
Mm-hmm.
So
it was an emotional thing.
Valid.
Yeah. Once again, not telling you how to feel. It just shows like this is what this character feels in this.
It gets you to feel something organically.
Yeah.
That's one of the things I think the Forza finale did.
It's one of the things
I think X8 did it as well.
Yeah.
Excuse me.
Saber hasn't ended yet, but we're almost there.
Mm.
I still haven't caught up past episode 14, so I can't say anything on that show.
Oh well.
From what I've heard, nope.
As far as
I've heard both good and bad.
As far as finales in Sentai go, I always look forward to the helmetless roll call.
Or the suitless roll call.
Or suitless.
Yeah.
They decide to do.
If they do that in the final episode, because they might do it like the episode before or something.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, it's just something that's so good to see it. You love to see them doing it in suit. Gokaiger did it.
Yep.
Dairanger set the bar. And they set the bar at the sun. But
Wild Force came close. They set the bar at the rain.
At the storm clouds.
At the storm clouds.
What about the helmetless roll call in the Hurricaneger movie? If we're going to talk about roll calls real quick.
I don't remember it.
Yeah, it's been so long since I've seen it.
Oh, God, I remember we lost our shit at it.
Oh, the Hurricaneger one.
Yeah.
Right, when...
The song.
Right.
Oh, yeah.
You're talking about the 10 years after special.
Yeah.
The actual...
When they all come in with... they all have, like, very different entrances.
Shoo. Samurai killing.
That was a good one.
Yeah. Oh God, I'm trying to think of other finales.
Yeah, I have a bad one.
What's
sure.
Mystic Forces.
No shit. Like no shit.
I do believe in magic.
I do believe in fairies.
Operation Overdrive. I want to direct. Like this, it makes it worse when that was not the way that the show was presenting the direction that you were going to go in, and it comes out of nowhere, and you're sitting here like, one, you were a terrible character to begin with. Two, why is this happening? That's just Operation Overdrive.
I don't know, because that's what they wanted to do. Sometimes the generic, fluffy, happy ending can work, and sometimes it really can't.
A lot of times when they try to do it, it don't work. Yeah, what would we like to see for finales in the future? Like, what would we like to see more of?
I don't really have anything in particular that I'd like to see more of. It just, as long as they're good, I don't care.
Yeah, as long as it fits the story.
That's the thing. It really depends on the story that we're being presented.
Mm-hmm.
Don't want the ghost.
Or a wizard.
Or a wizard.
Don't do that.
Or even, well...
Gaim had a good finale.
It depends on how you feel about the Ryuki one.
Yeah, I get that.
I think Blade did it well, but... Actually, I would like to see more about that, where it's just... There's no real happiness here.
Bittersweet.
Yeah, it was a very bittersweet...
Garo VR.
Did get fixed later. But yeah, I would love a more bittersweet ending where it's just
that's Garo VR.
It's true.
Kwon wins, but
minus
at what cost?
Minus the episode that was more about Michi, the Gaim finale was
Oh, you mean the actual finale of the show?
The stupid, like when they did a W where they did it, they gave us an extra episode that really shouldn't have existed.
Well, I actually think it needed to exist because of Michi. He needed something.
Did he though?
Depends on how you feel about him.
Fair. But the idea of, I was more just speaking the idea of that it was literally a war where he had to fight somebody he considered a friend.
Or at least a rival.
Yeah.
Frenemies.
Love rival.
W's finale, while we did get an extra episode that would have been better without it, I still think is good. The fact that it was a time skip. Because he lost Philip. Mm-hmm. And then it was like, what, a year later?
Something like that,
yeah. Yeah, a year or two.
So he had to be Kamen Rider Joker for a year, which...
He seemed to be doing okay at it.
It could have been a movie to bring him back, as opposed to just an episode of the series, but I feel like
it should have been a movie.
Yeah.
Because I feel like it would be a bit grander, because it did just come back. And so you're like,
Let us live without Philip for a while.
Yeah.
And then,
bring him back.
But
yeah, I think at that point, just depending on how it ends up being done, I would love to see a lot more Bittersweet ones, solely because we really haven't had that many of those. Mm-hmm. Yeah, at least not Rider Sentai, especially not the Sentai. But I would love something a little bit more like that to show it's just like, life's not always going to be super great at the end of the show. Mm-hmm. So, but yeah,
life sucks and then you die.
Let us know what you think about the certain finale aspects.
What's your favorite finale?
Yeah, what is your favorite finale? Not just the ending, but like the actual finale.
Let us know in the comments down below.
Yep.
As always, follow us on all of the things. Anything else we want to talk about? All right, we'll see you guys next time. Bye, everybody.
Bye.
Thank you for watching.